When you figure out what you value, you can stop spending money on things you don't need and stop feeling guilty when you do spend money on things you value. Today, I'm showing you how to find what you value so you can make better spending decisions. Welcome to Modern Frugality. My name is Jen. Thanks for joining me today. I am a personal finance writer, and now I'm making YouTube videos because a news anchor once told me I was okay on camera. Today we're talking about how to find what you value so that you can make smarter spending decisions. If you're a subscriber, thanks for coming over and watching the video. If you're not, then you can click the button at the bottom right-hand corner. I'm going to be putting out a few videos a week for the foreseeable future to help people get back on their feet financially and to improve their spending long term. So you've probably heard the phrase start with why. It was coined by Simon Sinek. It's the third most popular TED Talk, best-selling book, and it's translated to a lot of people saying, when you start a financial goal, first establish your why. I think that's super important too, to figure out why you're doing something will enable you to do it long term. But when it comes to your spending decisions, your why just doesn't cut it, and it's not until you find what you value, what motivates you to spend money, that you can identify your unhealthy spending habits and replace them with healthy ones. That's how you make habits stick. And you don't have an unhealthy why in order to replace that and make better spending decisions, but you probably have some unhealthy spending habits that have a neutral value or good value behind them, but you have to figure out what that value is so that you can replace it with a healthy alternative. Why don't we talk as much about values as we do whys? And that's because most people don't know what their values are. They don't know the little intricacies, the details, the nuances that are behind their core values. When you're asked about your why, you can probably easily say, I value my family or my friends or financial independence. And then somebody asks you your values and you're like, well, I value this or this. And then you go look at your bank transactions and maybe your bank transactions aren't saying the same thing that you're saying out loud. We have to identify what we value in order to change our spending habits, to improve them, and it's not going to stop at spending. It's going to impact the changes and the decisions that you make about work, about life, your partner, with your kids. Your values impact so many parts of your why. So that's why I am super passionate about helping people discover what they value and learn how to translate that into bigger life goals and day-to-day transactions. So the first thing that I recommend for finding what you value, what you truly value, is to look at your bank transactions. What you're spending money on is going to tell you a lot about your core values, good and bad. So one of the biggest things I see is a value for efficiency. And that translates to, if you're finding like fast food or at least quick service foods on your bank statement, anything that allows you to speed up processes. So maybe you pay for somebody to do your laundry, or you pay for a service that does something for you. And that just means neither of those things are good or bad. It means you value efficiency. Identifying that that's what's coming from your bank statement by all of your Chipotle transactions can help you say, okay, why am I making these Chipotle transactions? Oh, because it's quicker to do this than to make food, and I value quickness and efficiency. What's something different I can do that's less expensive that helps me get cooking done faster? And so that might mean meal prepping on Sunday. So it's just figuring out what your bank statement is telling you about what you value. And it can tell you a lot about the gaps between what you say you value and what's really happening. If I say I value my faith, but I'm not giving to my church, I'm not giving to other people, I'm not doing anything that says that I value that with my money, I have to ask myself, do I really value that? Or is it a priority? Am I valuing other things ahead of it? So this doesn't necessarily change your values, but you can change how you prioritize them. And we'll talk about that a little later. So the first thing to do is go through your bank statements for the past few months and look for recurrences. You do this, I'm sure if you've made a budget, you've done this. So go through and look back and see, what am I spending a lot of money on? And then what does that break down to? Why am I spending money on this? What's the end result? What do I feel when I'm spending money on it? Dissect it, and eventually you will get to the value that is behind it. The second thing is to look back on your life and look at meaningful moments. So you can go back all the way to childhood, or you don't maybe have to go back that far, but think about moments that have meant a lot to you, that stick out in your mind for some weird reason. For me, I had a fourth grade teacher who, after reading one of the writing assignments I did, she was so proud of me. She said, go to every other teacher in this pod and show them this little writing assignment. And so I just was beside myself, excited. I felt so good. I will never forget that feeling of walking to these different teachers and showing them my assignment. And they're saying like, oh, this is good. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna get back to it. And I didn't care. I was so excited. That is a moment I'll never forget. And so when I thought about it and I dissected it, thinking, okay, what was I doing? What value was I serving? What was happening? What was I feeling? I realized that I felt pride in the knowledge that I had about writing and the achievement of it, actually getting it done. And so achievement and knowledge are two of my highest core values, is researching and knowing everything about a subject and getting something done and getting it done well. Those are things I really value. And that's one of the ways that I was able to first identify it, is thinking back on that meaningful moment and then kind of tracking it back and be like, oh, I see this in other places in my life too. The third strategy is to think of moments of betrayal. So not betrayal against you, but betrayal against a value. So this is the opposite of a meaningful moment. Thinking of times you were angry or frustrated and dissecting those moments and thinking, why was I so frustrated or angry? And this is usually a time when other people would think it's unreasonable to be that offended or angry about something. And that was a betrayal on your value, whatever that was. And that's why they think it's unreasonable, because they don't have the same value as you. So think back on some of those moments that you can remember and try to track back and dissect, what was happening? What was I feeling? What were the values do I think that were being betrayed? Just so dissect it. And then you can kind of figure out more of your deeper core values. The last one is life-giving activities. So the activities, the things you do in life that give you joy, peace, make your life full, those things that you absolutely love and could not picture your life without. So for me, one of the biggest ones is health, specifically exercise. So I was always a big girl growing up. I was a little chubbier than all the other girls, and that was throughout high school and college. But after I graduated college, I wanted to make a change, and so I started exercising. I ran for a while, and then I wanted to do something more. So for the past 5 years, I have paid for CrossFit every month, and that is something I value. I value exercise and my health, and so I will gladly pay that money and not feel guilty about it in the slightest. And it's expensive, it's CrossFit. I'm like the worst at it. But I still do it because I value my health. So those are some of the ways that I identify what I value and some of the ways you can identify what you value. And it's totally okay to not be able to complete this in one day. This is a process that may take you several days or weeks to really thoroughly remember events and think about what you do every day. And you may have to consult other places to come up with a few values. The other ones may be really hard for you. So you may need to consult your schedule, like what are you doing weekly? How does that line up with what you say you value? You may need to check your budget, who you're spending time with, like observe the things around you, and those can help you figure out what you value. Or you may have a lot of values. You may go through those and say like, I have like 20 values. That's totally okay. At that point, you just need to figure out how to prioritize them. Finding your top 3 to 10 and prioritizing them will help you go through this order of operations for when you're making spending decisions. And you can decide, yeah, I'm going to buy this and I'm not going to feel guilty about it, or no, I'm not going to buy this because it doesn't get me to where I want to go. If you liked this video and you want more info on how to better control your spending and make better decisions when it comes to spending, definitely subscribe to Modern Frugality. I'm going to be putting out a couple videos a week on this topic, and you'll get a lot more of it from me.